Oh, it's me again. Apicary. Keith Apicary. That's my name. It's inside of my life. I just want to remind you, in case you haven't yet, to subscribe to The Variant Verdict. If you don't, I'm coming for you.
Hey guys, you're watching episode 15 of The Variant Verdict. My name is Joshua Animus.
Sean Kelly.
And tonight our movie is The Gentleman by director Guy Ritchie.
Oh, yes.
Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of history on this, his last film that he did for the theaters theatrically was Aladdin.
Yes.
With Will Smith. And that movie was huge. Actually, it was a pretty big hit in the box office, did really well. And now it seems like instead of following that up with another big blockbuster, he went back to the films that were kind of more smaller in scale,
yes.
a la Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yep.
And the results are mostly good.
Yes. I mean, I enjoyed it, and it did go back to that style. It felt, in that sense, not like straight carbon copy, thankfully, but it is actually done well. It's very fast-paced. I mean, ultimately, what the movie is about is you have Matthew McConaughey, or Mickey Pearson, I think his name is. He is the kingpin, czar, if you're whatever you want to call him, of pretty much the pot industry in England. So he runs like a giant empire that covers the whole country, and he decides he wants to get out of the game. He's had enough. He wants to retire, be with his wife, and he wants to sell this empire, which he's trying to get somebody to buy it for $400 million. While this deal is going on, you go ahead and have a few people maybe dipping their hands in, trying to maybe make an offer for it, or maybe even raiding one of the spots. So pretty much chaos starts ensuing all surrounding this deal of him trying to sell this giant empire off and just be free, and it's just chaos.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of different types of drug dealers and people that are in the game, so to speak, and they're different situations, but it all comes down to acquiring Matthew McConaughey's character. His name is Mickey Pearson.
Yeah, Mickey Pearson.
Acquiring it for cheaper by means of ruining either his reputation or his grow operation, thus lowering the value of his property, his drug value, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of it. It's really small scale, so as small as that story sounds, the way I describe it, it pretty much is that small.
But in a way, like, it is, but you can say the same thing about, like, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels being ultimately surrounding, like, a poker game and gambling, like a bet. And then you got the same thing with Snatch, where it's ultimately revolving around, like, this diamond and a boxing fight. So it's very, like, close-knit story, but there's a lot surrounding it. Like all these little tiny subplots and everything. Same thing with this. As this is all going on, you have like the rich girl heroin addict who they are trying to bring home. It doesn't necessarily revolve the main plot, but it still fits in well enough to where it's, I don't know, there's just a lot of great moments.
Everyone in this movie feels quite alive. Like,
yes.
It's everyone looks like they're having a ton of fun doing their parts. Particularly, I'd like to mention that I think Hugh Grant.
Jesus!
Just absolutely chews on his character and the portrayal in this movie. He looks like he's having a ton of fun.
Dude, he's probably one of my favorite characters in the movie.
He gets some of the wittiest banter in his dialogue.
The
script is really well. That's another thing. It goes back to just how good this script is. It relies on kind of like average, everyday type of dialogue to make for the laughs in the film.
Yep.
And it's like, the way that you appreciate how Tarantino could be so niche in his writing, but yet so universal. Like, that's kind of like what he did with this movie. For its small scale, it works a lot better.
Yes.
It's a very witty movie.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of one-liners. I feel like this movie will have a lot of lines people will remember down the road.
Yeah.
But it's going to take multiple watches, and it'll probably even have a decent life on home video. The original stories do have a tougher time in movie theaters now, and it's too bad. We talked about this in our Knives Out video.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this movie do well because it's for an original film, not based on anything. It was really, really cheeky, fun, and just a good time.
No, exactly. I had plenty of fun. Oh yeah, one thing. If you're not a fan of like vulgar dialogue, there's not so much violence or anything in this movie. They probably say the C word like at least 100 times in this movie.
Oh yeah,
like easily.
Not only that, it actually shows up on screen multiple times.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
This cunt.
Yeah,
Well, I shouldn't have said that, but you know what I mean.
Yes, so I mean they say it 100 times in the movie, but I was trying to be a little cleaner there. But so when it comes to this, it's like heavy, like bad language. So
It's a hard R.
oh yeah, no, it is.
Guy Ritchie he's still a little bit more restrained than that of Quentin Tarantino. There's a severed head in a freezer. Guy's hanging body in a freezer. And occasional gunfight, but it's not that prevalent. I would say the dialogue mostly plays the biggest part in this movie, less so the action scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even really like a violent movie, but even if you think about it, like those older Guy Ritchie movies like Snatch and Lock, Stock, sure, they had guns and shooting and all that stuff, but very quick bursts of it. There was no giant gunfight. It was just, they weren't super violent movies, but they were fucking fantastic. And this, I feel like, fits in that family. So, I mean, maybe not as much as those two do, but same as any other Guy Ritchie movie I've seen.
I think I usually love Matthew McConaughey, at least in his more recent stuff, with the exception of a few movies that he's done. But this movie, while I like his character, and he probably has my favorite line in the movie, I think comparatively, like Charlie Hunnam was like a huge standout.
Great, yeah.
I think Hugh Grant, huge standout. Colin Farrell absolutely murders his dialogue.
Can we take a moment there? Yeah, like for Colin Farrell.
He's hilarious.
Yeah, not only is he hilarious, he's the one character that I wish there was more of in the movie.
Yeah, he kind of plays like the neutral guy. He starts off on one side, but then he becomes neutral to the side you're kind of rooting for.
He's just trying to do
McConaughey's character. Mickey.
He got stuck in a situation. And he's just trying to make everybody happy and just step the fuck away. That's all he's trying to do. But he just, every time he was on the screen, like you said, his dialogue, everything, I thought it was awesome.
And the best way I could describe it, this is a very cheeky movie. Like, everything that's said is, like, so rapid fire. And you know how it is, like, when you're from, like, a small British town or small Irish town, you kind of have, like, a different dialect. Even if you sound British, you have a different type of British accent.
Yeah, no, you're British, you're Cockney, or like you have all these different kinds of phrases.
Just the way it's delivered, it has a little bit of a dry British humor at times.
Oh no, absolutely.
But it's fun. Like I liked it.
No, it was great. And last thing to go over about the story and everything with it is that this movie is also being narrated to you the whole time, being like pitched as a movie. So
it's a Miramax film, and it's being pitched. By the end of the film, 2 Miramax films.
Yeah, and it's the movie like we just watched being pitched as you're watching.
Yeah, I think the movie describes the script in the film which is essentially the plot of the movie, is called Bush. So you're technically watching the movie Bush, if that makes any sense. Yeah, because that's the name of the script that's being narrated throughout the film.
Yeah, and I don't know whether you call that like meta or fourth wall or what. But
I had a hard time like coming up with like how to describe that to Sean when we left the theater.
Yeah, even just coming up with a word for it, because it was definitely an interesting way they narrated the movie. But I mean, ultimately, now I say before we go, I just want to go over one thing. Like, what would you say? Just your best and your worst. Like, what do you think was the worst part of the movie? What do you think of the best?
I'll start off with the worst because I was kind of getting into that.
I think we're going to agree on the worst.
Well, no, actually, I don't know. I was going to say I like Matthew McConaughey a lot. This wouldn't be like a standout role where I'd be like, if someone wanted me to recommend a good movie by Matthew McConaughey, I would mention Interstellar first or Beach Bum. There's a few movies that I can think of like that would take precedence over this one. And
Interstellar, but
I
don't know about Beach Bum, but although that was. I mean, I can see as far as performance goes. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not like if I really thought about it, there's definitely more. Like this wasn't one of the ones that stood out. The best thing about this movie, I think, was just like I said. I think the script and then like the breakout performances. Like Charlie Hunnam's not typically comedic. You've seen Pacific Rim, Crimson Peak. He's just not typically comedic. In this movie, he's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, but
I like him a lot.
No, I noticed. But what do you say is your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene of this movie?
It's like I got 2 and I'm torn to pick which one right now.
Okay, there's a scene in the movie where the character, Mickey Pearson, is kind of being backed into a corner by this guy named Dry Eyes. He's in rival Asian gang. And when he feels like he's being backed into a corner, while Hugh Grant's narrating this part of his script, he embellishes what actually happens in the story because as it's playing out while he's being backed, and like this guy's threatening him, and he doesn't really know the true power that Mickey Pearson has.
Yeah.
And what as the scene plays out, Mickey points a gun at him under the table and just blasts him. Stands over his body and says, "You know, when a lion's got to eat, he's going to eat." And just like blasts him, and it's just such a badass performance by Matthew McConaughey. That's probably one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
And like I said, it kind of goes back to the beginning of that scene, and it shows you what really happened because he's embellishing the script as he's reading it. If that makes sense, if I haven't lost you yet.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene. What about you? What is your favorite scene?
Well, my least favorite part of the movie, I can say, is right in the middle of the movie.
Oh.
There's a rap music fight video, and it
goes on too long.
No, well, that's the thing. Like, I understand it's serving the point because they're making this video and posting it online, everything like that, but you're literally watching like a whole music video.
Yeah, it goes on too long.
And I'm just kind of like, well, this took me out of it for a moment. So
yeah, it feels like it's like a 3-minute music video. Like that wasn't needed the whole thing to get the point across.
Yeah, and no, I would probably say, I mean, that scene that you mentioned, definitely top tier for me. But there's that scene where, like as I mentioned earlier, how they're rescuing the heroin addict girl, and then he walks into the room, and Charlie Hunnam has that dialogue where he's just talking to everybody and just like they're all
it reminds me of
frozen.
like when Jules goes into
in a sense, yeah,
Pulp
like
Fiction to talk to those people in the
in the beginning of
eating
Pulp
the
Fiction,
Kahuna Burger.
exactly. So, but like just that, I don't know if why, but that, and like I said, I was torn between two parts. That part I really enjoyed because that was some of the best shit I've ever seen him do. That was a great fucking moment. But the other part, and I don't even know why this stuck with me, was the part at the very end where you get your big reveal, everything that's happened, everything that's going on, and then he talks about how he would have been a little more lenient on this until like his wife got touched, and he just gets like angry, being like, "That was my wife." Like
the same Asian guy from that dream sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, like trying to get to his character, like confronts his wife, and he finds out about that.
Yeah, there's more to it, just so we don't spoil everything. But like, I don't know, I just thought that scene, like, the oh shit look on the guy's face. McConaughey was actually, like, I will say, he was intimidating in that. So, like, I don't know. Both those scenes really stuck out to me besides that one. So, like, the one that you mentioned. So,
yes. So, in a nutshell, I think this movie's not going to draw a ton of new fans. If you're already a big fan of kind of Guy Ritchie's old style, as Sean mentioned, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. Snatch, exactly. Even, like, the style that he did on some of the action scenes, like the freeze frame action scenes from Sherlock Holmes, he kind of recreates with this one car flipping scene in this film, which actually looks really well.
Yeah, beautifully shot.
I don't think it's going to bring any new. I don't think it's going to convert any new people to Guy Ritchie. I think it's just going to satiate the people that have missed that style since he did his Disney picks.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I would say that wraps up this week. So, definitely go ahead and like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Maybe you have an opinion on what you think the movie's like. Let us know. So,
exactly. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.